we will go up in a few minutes, but we can go ahead. These days we have a quorum, we have so many members. No. Used to be there were three of us, and so you had to wait for all three of us, or there wasn't a quorum. Okay, so you have everybody's names down. So we do have a new member, so I thought, actually, let's wait a few more minutes, see if Laura shows up. I thought we'd just go around and quickly introduce ourselves. Let's go on for a bit, and then if she doesn't show up, we'll just go ahead and do that. So there's no citizens petitions, it's nobody online, nobody in the room. So we're on. We approve the minutes. Thank you. Somebody second.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 I will abstain. I wasn't here. Does that mean I shouldn't have moved?
No, you can still say.
You can still move. What I'm wondering is whether it passes, then we only have 2 votes. We may need to wait for Laura. I don't know. And we haven't had our Robert's Rules of Order training, and after I've had the training, I'll probably be just as confused about subtle details like that.
I don't think anybody can sue us.
No.
Just remember, a motion to adjourn is always in order.
Okay.
So Dan would have to abstain as well.
Yeah.
Oh, here comes Laura.
Here's Laura. Cool. That's so. Hello. So, to jump right in, we have a motion to approve the minutes. And you vote to approve the minutes. Thank you. That's 3 votes for and 2 people abstaining who weren't here. So the minutes were approved. So now that Laura's here, I thought maybe we'd just take a few minutes and quickly introduce ourselves. And we do have a new member. So I'm Hugh Barton. I've been on the WPCA for 5 years now. I looked it up. It's
Yeah.
And I'm a biochemist toxicologist by training. I worked for Pfizer for 10 years, and before that I worked for the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. So that's who I am.
I'm Meredith Russell. I'm a retired attorney.
Yeah, I'm retired too.
But my focus was first litigation and then elder law. I have nothing to do. If I know bad things shouldn't go in our water. You know, so it would be.
I'll go next. I had to look up how long I've been here.
I wanted to hear
My
what
name is
you
John
said.
Worsbicky. I'm a retired attorney as well. I've been here since 2016. And I guess I would have to say, along with Meredith, that I don't really have any super credentials as far as water pollution is concerned, but I've learned a lot in the past almost 10 years. So.
I'm Laura Ballard. I'm the trauma registrar at Baggett Hospital. So I'm still working. You look old. And, I could swear that you've been here longer because I think I arrived in 16.
No, I thought it. Well, you probably came around the same time I did.
Yeah?
Because, yeah, I have a database.
Wow.
You want to know what was on the agenda in 2016? I can get it right out for you.
I just kind of look the notes up on my phone. Sometimes I bring it up. Good to have you. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm Dan. I've been driving almost my whole life around the district, but Currently, I'm the director of the Water Pollution Control Authority for the town of Stonington. I work for a board of 5 members as well, but I saw maybe in March that there was only 3 members, and I thought about joining. I have a lot to offer, and I can learn a lot as well. So I filed for my application, and it took a while to sort through Groton's process, but
Thank you
Well,
for doing
welcome. And I don't know, you guys want to introduce yourselves? Go ahead.
I sure, Greg Hanover, Director of Public Works. Been director for 5 years now, although I've been with the town 37 years.
Mhm.
Been a town engineer for most of the years prior, so, yeah, why do you know about the history of the town? Everybody calls me. Projects we worked on 30 years ago. So I feel like it was just like last month. We were working on it. And then I look at a date, it's like 2010.
Yeah.
You start redoing those projects.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, good, thank you. Yeah, I'm Jeff Paddock. I'm the Assistant Director of Public Works. I've been here since the first of the year. Coming here from Western New York, the Rochester region. I've got about 17 years of public work experience with a couple of municipalities in New York, and then 30 years of experience with facilities, maintenance, construction, repair, such with in industrial situations, higher education situations. Done work all over. Very happy to be here.
Wow.
Jeff, he is basically in charge of the whole wastewater division underneath. Yeah. Just planting all the gravity sewers, pump stations.
Melissa and I work for the sewer department, procurement and logistics assistant, and I'll do the agenda and send it out to you. If you have questions or if you don't get it, you can email me.
All right.
She's really.
She keeps things flowing.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was bad.
I know.
Yeah, it's good. It's bad. It's not.
Actually, it's good when
I
you
just sort of double on time.
when they keep flowing. Okay, so I don't think we have any consultant reports, changes to sewer use to turn these reports, so I assume we're on to the Public Works Director's report, or you'll tell me about it.
Just on the personnel side, I think it mentioned last time we had some applicants for the mechanic trainee, so we do have somebody that's starting on Tuesday, the 18th.
Cool.
So, the only open position we have is an equipment operator, and that did close, yesterday. We have 3 applications, so we'll review those and continue the process. And assuming we fill that, we'll be fully staffed. And then we don't have any other ones in the office.
So we're on to the facilities report. Are you taking care of that this meeting, Harry?
Yeah, everything continues in grade level plan. We got word, last week or so that the past calendar year, we, our nitrogen levels, effluent were below the, standard that we have to meet, so we need to consider.
Eight of you.
Yeah, about $280. We are working feverishly on reviewing plans and specs for several projects to be done. To be begun this summer.
Okay. Any questions? Thank you. And so I guess I sort of totally forgot about the, whatever that was, Groton 2035, question there that,
POCD, Christian Plan Conservation Development.
yeah, so I think we'll skip that for the moment. I think So I don't have, other than that, I don't have a chairman's report, and so we'll move on to old business. Update on our food company.
We'll be, doing sampling, there, yeah, before the end of the week. Is our goal, and, get some new data and see what's actually going on there and what we need to do to address it.
Is this add to both entities?
Yes.
Well, I wish it were so simple. So you're gonna sample both the sampling location from before that was the two combined, and then also the individual beers, or this will be the first time for the individual beers. Good. Any other questions? Nope. Okay, then we're on to revisions to section 15, utilities, the town ordinance.
I had Jeff go through it, and he had a number of questions, changes, and things that are all, we took a quick look at, were all appropriate. So I'm taking a look at those before we send it out to the town attorney. A lot of his questions. Hopefully we'll get that done in the next few weeks and get that out to the town attorney.
Okay, good. Anything anybody wants to say about that? Nope, we'll move on to the septic disposal fee.
Yeah, just a little bit of background. Currently, we're not charging the septic haulers when they come to the plant. They dump their loads. It's supposed to only be from the town of Groton, but we feel that there might be one or two at least, haulers in agreement from outside the town, so. Everybody was agreed that we should start charging, which is similar to what other towns are doing, so Jeff put together this kind of rules, things that we could briefly run through, what the charges are. And then the last page in this packet I just figured out is the legal notice, to notice the public hearing, which would be our next meeting. So that if you're all in agreement with this, we can mark this up. We can take a vote on that public hearing so we can notice that.
Okay, we're gonna go through the.
Yeah, just to review, quickly, the A is, just says that, that we'll be taking septic from the haulers, from any domestic source. And again, it's not limited to or originating in town, it can come from basically anywhere.
How will you know it's domestic as opposed to some other type of septic?
Well, we'll be expecting it before it's done, so.
Thank you.
And they will also have to tell us where the stuff is coming from, so that they don't lie about something that's certainly actionable item. B, they have to be licensed haulers by the state, and they have to have an account for town. We're looking in the tax office on how to set this up. Fees, we will bill monthly. We the bill at a rate of 8 cents per gallon. That's in line with most of our neighbors.
And that will probably discourage, there wouldn't be any reason to cheat if they have to pay the same here as they pay everywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, they could save a little money going somewhere, or that, it just depends on.
Right.
driving distance. Um, We will charge them as best to determine the actual amount that we dump. There'll be a minimum fee of $50 for any load less than 6 gallons. So and then, volume will be determined by, typically there's a sight glass on the tank, on the truck, that we can read it, run out from. If that, sight glass is unreadable or not there, then we'll charge them. We assume the truck is full, we'll charge them the value, the volume of the truck. And anybody who is, we've got to get it written in 60 days, so they couldn't pay it, then we'll allow it to go. We'll take material to 7:30 to 2:30, which gives us a little time in the morning to get started, trying to get it cleaned up. Done. Not on holidays or other extreme conditions, we might be otherwise occupied and not be able to accept it. Depending on how things are going at the plant, there may be a minimum or a maximum amount we can take each day. We don't overwhelm the plant with some material, so we should we give the opportunity to contact the plant to see if it's open and for them, and they have a signpost and keep the material in that day.
So, yes, actually, I have a question here. I don't know whether, we've had events where we've had so much rainwater that there's been various sorts of overflows. Would that impact whether we want to accept septage? And what I'm thinking is if it would, then do we need another item here because it's not, I mean, maybe that's extreme weather, but.
Yeah, it's hard to list all of the conditions.
Right.
We might take it's mostly because this is kind of like super sewage.
Right.
It's very concentrated, and we don't want to be, overdosing the plants. That's the reason. Limiting the amount of take. So yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
It's overflow, we don't want to.
Right, exactly. If it's overflowing for other reasons, and, okay, just as long as you're comfortable that that would be covered by the language you have here, though.
So upon entering the plant, we'll have a designated check-in area for the plant operator will meet the truck and get their information and we'll then move to the disposal area where we will collect load, take pH readings and take the samples so that there's a problem in the future, we will know what's going on. Material has to be in the proper pH range, make sure it's not too acidic, too basic, and to push the bugs. And then our operator will be able to reject any load based on what the hauler is violation of permit. If their equipment is in very poor condition, then we don't think they'll be able to safely dump their load. Or if they have a suspicion that there's anything else in that, and through odor or appearance, so they'll be given a copy of the ticket, and we'll keep the copy for the building. Drivers will be at the dumping location to offload. We'll require them to be at the truck all the time so that they can make sure that they're not doing anything losing control of their equipment. And then they need to clean up we agreed to.
I have a question.
Yeah.
This seems to be more, demanding of a caller. Do we have to add an additional staff person to be able to keep track of this, or is it still something that will be able to be accomplished with the staff on hand?
Oh, we should be able to handle it.
Okay.
If for some reason you were short staffed from day, that may be a reason not to extend. Waits on the day. Well.
Any sense of like how many loads a day occur now? I don't know whether we're talking about sort of one a day or 50 a day.
I mean, I don't mind jumping in for a second.
Yeah.
Right now, I've literally seen one truck in the last week, but that's because the ground is frozen.
Right.
But I will say in the summer, some days I see 3 trucks to 5 trucks a day, sometimes I see none. So it does truly depend on a lot of things.
But that gives us some sense
Yeah,
of what the magnitude is.
yeah, it's a few trucks a day.
Okay. I guess one thing, language thing, the GC, the area shall be hosed down. It's not clear to me who's responsible for doing that. So I think
That's good.
you might want to
Yep.
make that.
By driver?
Yeah.
That what you mean?
Thank you.
Well, I suppose the same thing applies to section B.
Read that. That was good. And, but, so, process-wise, let's read this. So, I assume the legal notice is that we're going to, well, hereby given the public hearing for the purposes of establishing the rules and fees. So we'd have the public hearing, and then in the regular agenda, all business, we vote for this.
Yes, we should.
Okay.
Tell me afterwards, does the town council have to approve this once we have?
No, we're at full authority.
So we would need a motion now to
Set the public hearing.
set the public hearing. So I move to set the public hearing for February 11th.
Wait a minute, that's today.
March 11th. You're right, I'm looking at the wrong date. Okay, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
So it's passed.
And the, whatever is gonna be put on the website will have changes that we just got.
Yes.
The 2 by drive. Okay, thank you. That one moves right along. So I guess we're now on to Doncat.
Going to the races?
Maybe it'd be a good idea to explain what this is all about, to refresh my recollection and also to help remember.
Yeah, Doncaster's, it's an industrial, they do aerospace casting, investment casting, I believe is what they do. They're on Trump Road. They have a current with the state DEP. They're also, under our regulations, they have, we call industrial surcharges. They're BOT, COT, and PSS are higher than what we normally consider, so we're allowed to add some cost to it, because the cost of process is obviously higher. They used to for it, give us all the results, and then maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, they stopped doing it. Harry tried for years, last year, so again, give us the data, and for whatever reason, they didn't do it. So finally, and I wasn't really aware of that, but other than that, they had to come in to get a permit reapproved by DEEP, so they needed me to sign off on it. So I talked to the facilities manager and said, you will send us this data. If he agreed, he would. He gave us a year's worth, which we're creating a bill to back charging. He did actually send the data just a couple weeks ago for the previous month, so we did follow through on his promise. We will, hopefully that trend will continue. But in the meantime, Jeff, we had talked about the ability to have the town put in a sampling monitoring now or something like that. And Jeff did find buried in another section of the ordinance, there is some language that allows us to actually do that.
Oh.
And at their expense, after the expense. So I
Okay.
did, we get a copy of that section. Down at the bottom, the copy next page. People would do the order to me to I think the surcharge section kind of reference back to this, to this different areas. Not lost. But the point is, at this point, we'll hopefully they will, our council will continue to send us the data every month. If somebody stop doing that, we will. Our attorneys on the letter to them, reference in the section. I think they'll quickly realize it's cheaper to send us data every month than to put all this manifold equipment in at their expense.
But never any explanation about, well,
You
They
know,
tried.
Other than they tried.
right. And this last bit of data, was that before or after you signed off?
After.
Oh, well, that's good news.
Yeah, so no, he followed through
Yeah,
first time.
Yeah.
Hopefully that every month we get that data. Like I said, if not, then we will politely remind them that the returns like to write letters
yeah.
referencing ordinances.
So, not to confuse mayors, but would this apply to the food companies as well? Or, because that's again, the industrial. I just didn't know whether the term industrial waste, I mean, that would apply to this. I mean, Doncaster is casting, but I certainly hadn't picked that up when I read part of the word.
No, I just,
Actually, I had a underline.
your ordinance currently defines industrial waste, wastewater from industrial process, greater business and distinct from investments.
So it is.
Oh, it would.
Yeah, it seems like it would be.
Okay, well, let's see what happens with Beard and Mystic Cheese, but yeah, we've had this continuing perplexed situation of the fact that their two outflows conjoin and make it difficult for us to know what's going on. And Beard chose to put it on because they're a brewery and they wanted the advantage of getting whatever that law was that where we're not supposed to build it.
Flow meter.
They wanted the flow meter more than anything, I think. Okay, anything else? Any other questions? Any other comments? So hopefully things will go smoothly with Doncaster, but I do still think that hopefully in the revised ordinance, we would be putting something that essentially, if it's necessary, mandates. Because I'm still unclear. I was trying to read K and figure out exactly what that was saying about the monitoring, and I'm not sure I need to read it, not in the meeting. In other words, it's one thing we're allowed to require that they pay for installing a monitoring manhole, but then the question becomes who has to do the monitoring? And it seems to me, I mean, the arrangement for whatever reason was Doncaster was doing the monitoring. It seems to me that plausibly businesses should have to be the ones doing the monitoring and paying for it, as opposed to us, the town.
Is there some way, I don't know, if this technology make it possible for us to have access to the monitor, to whatever data is being generated so that, you know, we don't have to rely on, I mean, I think if it would come to us directly, that would be better than if, you know, it's like when, I don't tell the electric company how much
Yes.
electricity I use.
Yes.
They measure it and they bill me for it. And, you know, if I told them, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I don't know if the technology, maybe you experts would know.
Well, I think them as the permittee, right, they have a permit from in their name, so they're required to do the sampling. And as the publicly owned treatment works, they would be required to report that to.
So my understanding from the last meeting was that their deep permit didn't actually require them to monitor.
What gives them the permit then?
Well, I mean, if I can just say that all the testing results that they sent in quarterly. So
Yeah.
it looks like they only have to test for COD quarterly, but they do have to test for TSS monthly. So that's the result we were getting.
So you think that's what the permit requires?
I don't know much about the permit. I just know that that's what the
What they
testing results
provided.
that they
Right,
provided to us.
and we didn't know whether, you know, they went to quarterly because obviously that's a third of the cost because you're only analyzing one sample instead of 3 samples, you know, one each month. So we still have some uncertainties about how things are working, you know, in that specific case, and that's why I guess I'm thinking that it would be good that in the revised ordinance, it should simply say, and it sounds like you raise a good point, that we want them to monitor monthly and provide the data monthly.
Shouldn't the town have a copy of their deed permit and see what they're required?
Got me?
We do.
So maybe you could.
So we still have to trust them to actually give us.
So on that point, so, you know, I don't know the exact details of the legal situation, but in general, there are a fair number of environmental things where the responsible parties are doing the monitoring, and legally they're required that the lab work and so forth be done under what's called good laboratory practices, and, you know, that the reporting meets those legal standards. And so there's huge portion of, like, at hazardous waste sites and et cetera, where, so I don't know whether those same, you know, requirements apply in this circumstance. If you know, please say.
Well, I think they probably should also have, they should also have this, like, we have the Mystic Aquarium, and they have a separate permit through DEPA. They also have to file, they only do biannually, but, they have to submit their own DMR to EPA as well. As a miscellaneous industrial user. So I'm not
It's a
sure.
DMR.
It's a discharge monitoring report,
Okay.
so that's the monthly report that goes to EPA.
So I guess I'm less on, I understand your concern about, you know, people, I mean, and in fact, the whole reason that good laboratory practices and good manufacturing practices got established was because, you know, 50 years ago, there was cheating on what was being reported from the labs, and so Congress passed laws that, and so again, the problem is what applies to which laws, I just don't know.
So I'm also concerned because, you know, I know that Beard and Mystic Cheese expressed frustration at being expected to report, okay? So what if they catch wind of the fact that Doncaster, just gentleman's agreement, sends over some information that instead of having the monitoring equipment installed so that they're all on the same level playing field. And again, my concern has always been there's Beard and Mystic Cheese, but there's going to be someone else that this is going to affect as well.
Yes, I understand your point. So I guess the question becomes, can you all research? So for Beard and Mystic Cheese, up to now, the monitoring's been done by us, which means both we control the data, but we pay for it.
Yeah.
I would prefer a situation, if possible, where they're responsible for the monitoring, they're responsible for paying for it, and that the legal framework under which they're reporting the monitoring is such that they essentially have to meet something that's the equivalent of the good laboratory practices. But you know, again, I just don't know enough about sort of the legal structure here. So it seems to me that would be useful to research and find out, because I understand your, you know, the concern that
We should treat all industrial
Right.
waste producers the same.
Right.
the
I
same,
think that's right.
and that we want data that's reliable and accurate.
I don't see why we wouldn't say to Doncaster, put in your own, here's the requirement, and anybody else who comes down the pipe, we can do the same thing.
Right, here it is.
Well, put in your own. They already have a monitoring. It's, as I understand it, within the plan, in the location where we as the town couldn't come in, set up our monitoring equipment and take samples,
Which we can do with Beard and Mystic.
because it's out in the street. Am I right? Right? Yeah.
Couldn't
But
we,
moving forward, should it not be standardized for any industrial concern? Has it,
accessible to the town
Yeah.
authority?
Well, right now, I mean, this regulation basically says that they have to do that.
yes,
Where's this?
In Section K, it says that such records, they have to maintain the records of, you know, the monitoring and all that other stuff. Such records shall be made available upon request to the commissioner or the director.
That's the records of the monitoring.
Right.
Yeah, that's
So
different than where the monitoring location.
Well, I understand that, but I thought that's what we were talking about, the fact that they have to report on what they're you know, what they're doing. I mean, if we require them to put something in, we're gonna get data. Whether we're gonna get accurate data is another question. I don't necessarily,
You may be right, that maybe the, there.
I mean, if we don't have the ability to actually sort of observe the data as it's generated
But we do with Beard and Mystic Chief, don't we?
at the, yes, because it's our facility that we're testing from, but if it's their facility and we have, I mean, like I said,
Okay, I went on for just a second. All the results they send us are from a lab, and they actually have been sending us the chain of custody paperwork also with all the samples from when it goes from Doncaster to the lab and what it does. So, and then we're not just getting some email from Doncaster that says DOD was this, DOD. I'm actually getting the results on the lab letterhead, if that helps.
well, at least
Yeah.
it sounds a little better.
And probably that lab is operating under good laboratory practice.
So the argument could be made, sort of grandfathered in and it's verified.
And I have to say, I'm not 100% convinced that I would want to require that the monitoring site be accessible to the town, because I could imagine that you'd have a facility where that wouldn't be the best place to be monitoring, you know, that you'd be far enough off away from the facility that you'd have to lose. It could be diluted or whatever it is, and it might be much better to be monitoring in the facility. And, you know, again, I just know how regulated, and again, the laws are all different, you know, for pharmaceutical manufacturing and so forth. So I'm not at all convinced that we want a requirement that it should be a site accessible to town.
I wasn't
being able
suggesting
to
that.
monitor. Well, there
I had wondered.
was, as I understood what you were saying.
That was sort of on my mind.
Yeah,
Right now, I'm in the midst of something. I don't trust anybody who said today is February 11th. I'm not sure it's true.
I know.
God only knows what's going to be coming.
None of this will matter.
Okay, I think probably what I would appreciate, I think you sort of understand the issues we
Yes.
raised, and if, you know, you're gonna take or send the ordinance off to the town attorney, but also doing some research so that you could sort of provide us, whether at the next meeting or the meeting after, you know, to help clarify this situation, because I do agree, Laura, that, you know, I mean, somebody else could come along that wants to make chocolate cakes on massive scale, and,
Yeah.
we need to know how to handle the situation in much more smoothly than happened with Beard and Mystic Chief.
Just wanted to, for the next meeting, could you make sure you email us a copy of the amended draft of the,
Oh, yeah.
along with the agenda?
Of the amended of
Of
the
the,
septic.
yeah, this, I know that's, I'm going backwards, but I just wanted to mention.
That's fine. I assume that has to be somehow part of the,
It'll be on the website.
right. Okay, anything further on Doncaster? I think we've beaten that one to the ground, but I think we've covered a range of issues that are a little tricky and somewhat dependent upon the legal context that they're operating in. The FYE 296 budget.
Kind of went summary last time, we're
Right.
going to go into a little bit more detail tonight.
Do you need anything from
No,
us?
no.
Did And we did review it last meeting,
Yeah,
sort of at a general level, so.
yeah, once we get the final numbers, we're still waiting for some personnel numbers from finance and each other, so we get the final number, but once, I'll have some options for using, because we have a pretty hefty fund balance of about $2 million. So, using some of that, but we're also, probably recommend reasons to
Right.
this year, central. We've got some big capital projects. Cost of utilities going up and so on.
Okay. I can't remember, we usually vote on the new rate at the June meeting or the June, yeah, so May we'll need to set the public hearing for the June. Yeah. Okay, so we're on to new business, pump station condition update.
Yeah. I see you, that's
Fancy binder.
a nice report that you put together on.
Thank you.
Go through each pump station. Yeah, the first few pages just talk about the kind of the overall system, what made up of how many pumps there are, where are the major stations, some of the problems that we're running into, the ongoing issues, and kind of some definitions of things. We have a page for each pump. We do an idea what it looks like. Or not. Some of the names are obvious, and then a brief description of the condition, primarily the deficiency. This is excellent for me because,
You're in the
great,
group.
so I can get around.
Study guide, huh?
It's looking really quick. It sounds, looks like we've got a lot for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we do.
Yeah.
The main recurring theme through this, you see, is the control system, patients. A lot of them are really like the 70s, and obviously not the best technology at this point. So, it's not unique to Groton, in fact, gives you any comfort. So that'll be a point of emphasis. Good news is we do have the worst of the stations are on capital plan to address several years. We move forward. Try to keep the language is kind of generic.
Joe, here's a good one.
There's a number.
Which one is that?
There's four or five different. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember eight.
Yeah, there's a few of them we built in the last 4 or 5 years. Cross culture, we do it. Gravel too.
Gravel too.
Umford Cove.
Oh.
That's one we have construction scheduled to start this year. That's one of our new stations.
Aquatic Road.
I grew up on Cedar Road and I did not know that that was the name of that pump station. You always talk about Little Gibraltar and I didn't know.
Oh, the one at Cedar Road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, the plant called Little G, So when I see them do all that, I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh, okay.
I have no idea.
And you've been here.
Did you work on that before the next meeting? Or work on it?
Yeah.
No rock out there. And there's no rock anywhere else, so I don't know. This was, yeah.
Try to move a PDF.
But sort of ballpark to fix or replace one of these pump stations? I mean, I assume it's a multi-million-dollar project.
Yes, the bigger one is like 2.5 million. That's what we're doing.
So Mumford, we're doing this year. That's the only one, or are we doing the Camberton?
We have money for Burgess Park, but I don't know if it's gonna be enough, to be honest with you. They're designing that one now, it's all, we call it camp station, it's just a steel unit, everything's just dropped to the ground, it's just rotting away. Then we put in this year some money for the little G. That's one of our next ones.
Okay.
Bridge after that. Kind of prioritize, maybe there's some of these other stations have, little things we could do here and there. With operations money or something.
Which is the one that the new senior thing is gonna
Leicester Town Road.
thing?
So you determined that was adequate, right?
Well, adequate capacity and the condition of it don't have to be the same. Well, it's fair.
When are they
The
gonna
new-
start their new construction? 'Cause that would add the burden.
They're looking at 3 to 5 years.
Just so you know, anything that had the obsolete control system in it, we just automatically rated the spare. So regardless of whatever else was going on in the pump station.
What's ATS?
Automatic transfer switch on the generator, so that when we lose power, it automatically switches for them. The electric car actually just look right there.
Yeah, that's what the new generator and the ATS from 2024.
What does, I'm just looking at the Burgess Park thing, this is a can station.
That's what he was.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a prefab unit, basically comes on a truck. So, so it's a can, it's a can, it's a steel can. The pumps installed in it, the controls installed in it, and you dig a hole, set it in the ground, pump the pipes.
Is that the way of the future? Was that,
That's all.
oh, it's old. Okay.
Most of the stuff we do now is submersible pumps, so that the guys don't have to, we have a big huge wet well, we just pumps it down low and lift the ATM and pull them up on rails. We control it, separate structure. You don't have to go down inside of nasty confined space.
So I have been here 5 years and we've been talking about capital projects over the 5 years, but, I guess I don't really have a sense of how you all have been working or how we would want to work. I mean, should we essentially have it laid out what the priorities are? I mean, part of what I'm wondering is, obviously, part of the issue of the sewer rates and so forth is the capital projects. And, should we be thinking about doing things faster or not?
Well, that's kind of one of the things we want to start looking at. We did have, a few years ago, had some kind of layout schedule the next 5 or 6 years, what we should be looking at.
I mean, just looking here, the 6 pump stations, since there's major facilities, you know, 2 of them are good, 1 fair and 3 poor, so.
Why wouldn't,
And one is,
why wouldn't we tackle the poor one yesterday?
well, because maybe from the point of view of what it would raise the sewer fees to, we wouldn't want to do it yesterday, but we would want to make sure things keep moving along at a reasonable pace, whatever seems appropriate given the, you know, dollars involved.
Is the modern technology such that people sitting here 20 years from now will be looking at what we're looking at now? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Boy, if I knew that, I could make a lot of money. Or kind of like a building.
Well, no, I'm just, you know, I'm just,
Like, what's the latest and greatest
yeah,
equipment?
is whatever they're doing these days,
Yeah.
because a lot of the stuff that you've got here, you say is antiquated, it's obsolete.
The control
No.
of the motor, yeah, the EFG is variable frequency drives now, so it's more energy efficient pumps and, you know, motors.
And I'm just
I
wondering
don't
if they're
know,
likely
just
to
the control
last.
stuff. Yeah, you know, use what they call programmable logic controllers, PLCs, which are, you know, a little computer that, you know, has all of the instructions and everything else for how the pump station behaves, you know, during the, you know, high flows, low flows, you know, how the pumps come on and go off, you know, bring additional pump online, things like that. It's all encoded for those. I mean, that's the latest and greatest technology right now, but, pumps themselves are same technology 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pumps haven't changed. Pumps haven't changed. Maybe some higher material, you know, things with better alloys, but,
And unfortunately, I wouldn't think that the manufacturing today is superior to the manufacturing 100 years ago. It might have been better back then.
well, yeah, not 100 years ago, but probably 50 years
50
ago.
years
60
ago, yeah, I think
Things are not.
things used to
things are not
last
what they
for a
used to be, you know,
long
in
time.
the cliche, but,
Okay, anything further on?
so we can keep this, agenda for the look at it, questions for next.
Yeah, I think that would be good. We should at least check in what people can look at it at home and, you know, let's make sure people have questions. And so our next meeting is March 11th. And so I guess we need a motion to adjourn. Thank you. I think we're all in favor.
So much for it.
Anybody object to adjourning?